For a channel named $10 Slimer, we sure as hell haven't tackled Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I'm pretty sure has already run its course in the theaters. The people that wanted to see it saw it. All we got now stragglers. But we started this channel because of Ghostbusters, kind of, in a way, So you'd expect a fucking response. Stat. I know Al was like, I want to hear what they have to say. Answer from us, crickets, guy.
Mad crickets.
And guess what? It's going to have to be some more crickets because we haven't seen it yet. And I don't know if we're going to even get to see it theatrically. So whenever that happens, it's going to happen. I don't know, guy. And it's not because we don't want to see it. We want to see it. It's more because the subject just was beat to death like a damn apoplectic horse. You just got to kill that boy because he was all like, So, yeah, man, just years of hearing about this fucking thing. We're just like not feeling it, man. We're sure it's fine. We're sure it's not going to be as bad as 2016. We're sure it's not going to be as bad or as whatever it is as part 2. That's it.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
We'll get to it when we get to it. But since we are here, might as well talk about the OGs because
somehow we haven't talked about it yet.
Somehow, how the hell have we not reviewed the OGs, guy? Now we did review the 2016 one, which we were like, come on, guys, stop overreacting. But also like, it's not good though. But also like, we didn't hate it.
Fine.
But also like, let's just forget about that. So that's the thing. But anyway, how the fuck can we not talk about the originals, guys? So let's talk about the originals. Fucking Ghostbusters 1, baby. If you want to see a movie about 3 motherfucking perverts and 1 black guy going, what is this?
Yeah.
Then that's the movie for you.
Classic. I gotta say. It's like the leading in that genre. The leading film in that genre.
Pretty much, guy. We got a guy dreaming, lusting to get blown by ghosts, which I have to say is a very good approximation of the real Dan Aykroyd.
It's true, man. And
aliens. Dude, old boy loves aliens and ghosts, and I'm pretty sure he wants to fuck them. And I'm pretty sure he projected that onto the screen.
It's true.
In that movie. It's funny because they had to rework the script that he originally wrote because he wrote Literal Mania. So they had to rework it to something that they could actually film in this time and place and dimension. Yeah. And he kept that part. Or if it wasn't the original, he's like, dude, I'm getting blown by a ghost in this one.
He fought for it, I bet.
He did, guy. Ramus was like, come on, guy.
And in the original version, I believe, that I'm just pulling out of my ass right now, I believe that he actually got blown by Slimer. Yeah. But they were like, dude, we gotta make it a hot ass ghost chick.
Yeah, that's how they kind of came to what is it called? Anyway, the point is, so he's a perv.
Yeah.
We know that Egon clearly was banging Janine, right?
Dude, they were definitely giving off bang energy.
There was a lot of bang energy, which goes ignored later.
At least ate her out.
He definitely ate her out.
It was implied.
The implications of him munching Mad Rug were there.
Heavily in there.
And Peter, let's just be honest, that motherfucker will get Me Too'd.
Yeah.
Stat!
It was like when we were seeing Rocky, and there was that one scene that was like, ooh.
But then when he's hitting on Adrian?
Yeah, but then it ended up kind of working. It's like that uncomfortable scene only throughout the entire movie.
With him and
with Bill.
And Dana, man. Yeah. So we got 3 sex monsters. And the poor fucking Ernie Hudson guy, he just plays this guy that needs a job, guy.
Yeah.
Which at this point in time we can relate. The whole world's like, I just need a job guy that doesn't suck balls. But then he's like, damn, these guys, pretty sure they're blowing ghosts, guy. Anyway, the movie, we all know the fucking plot, guy. Come on, who hasn't seen Ghostbusters? It's fucking a classic, guy.
It's one of those movies that you don't really have to say what the plot is because it's in the name. They bust ghosts.
Or do they smash them?
Oh, shit.
Or what was the other one that was a possible fucking title?
I don't remember.
Ghost Blasters, I think?
Slammers?
Ghost Blasters, guy. At one point, there was going to be Ghost Blasters and Ghost Smashers.
They definitely bust nuts and ghosts.
Oh, man, they do. Yeah. So look, yeah. I mean, if you want to see guys get freaky with it and bust ghosts, this is the one. But uh, tell me what your favorite thing about Ghostbusters is. Gal.
I think my favorite thing about Ghostbusters is that it works in so many different levels. It's a great comedy, of course,
Yeah.
but it's a great horror film. Not sci-fi like many people say.
God
You
damn.
hate when
We'll
people
get
say
into
that.
that. We'll get into that.
But I think it's also one of those movies that you could rewatch, and every time you'll notice something. Maybe not something new or something hilarious, but something that you can appreciate. Like this time we watched it. It was the first time I noticed that Egon's messing with the wands when they're eating in the firehouse. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I somehow didn't notice that before.
Yeah.
Or you'll notice little jokes. Like it works as a kid watching it, and it works
And when
really
you're a little
well.
bit more
Yeah, it works really
incisive
well.
about it, yeah.
Yeah. And I also like that the humor can be kind of broad and kind of clever and kind of subtle at times. It kind of works as like everything.
Yeah, it has that quality that a lot of the great classics from the 80s had, where they depended largely on these well-known comedians being those well-known
Mm,
comedians, basically, but also being these characters. So Bill Murray is basically a riff on himself, and
mm,
yeah, so is Ramis, and so is Dan Aykroyd. Definitely Dan Aykroyd with, again, blown by ghost angle. So it works very well because there's a realism that you feel about these characters. They feel like actual people despite this being funny. And then to the note of your fucking funny thing, your funny comment, there's a thing about comedies where you can watch some and they're hilarious in the moment, but later you watch them, they're not
mm.
good. They didn't age well, or some of the stuff just doesn't hit as well. This one
Or
is one
just
of
jokes
those.
that you rewatch and it's
Yeah, then eventually you get used to them. This
yeah.
one's one of those that works, and every time you see it, and I think it largely has to do with the fact that one, they're clearly fucking ghosts,
Yeah.
and two, the humor's so linked to the characters that there's no way it could age badly, at least as long as they're not raping ghosts.
Yeah.
So it aged like a fine wine. Each time you see it, it just gets better, and it's always enjoyable to watch. Another comedy like that for me is The Big Lebowski. Every single time I watch it, it's funny. Every single time I watch it, there's something to appreciate on top of the stuff that I already appreciated, not depreciating in value. So that's fucking cool, man. My favorite thing about Ghostbusters is, much like the first thing you mentioned, is that it's a great balance of horror and comedy. And I stress the horror because every time this fucking movie would be categorized, whether it be by some, cinephile intelligentsia or at the fucking local mom and pop, it would be either comedy or sci-fi. Especially when it comes to articles and lists and stuff like that,
Yeah.
sci-fi
I'm
comedy.
sorry guys, but Dan Aykroyd doesn't bang an alien in this one. He's banging ghosts.
He's banging ghosts, guys.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. There's sci-fi elements, man. They're making little, basically nuclear reactors they're walking around with. I get it. There's a sci-fi elements, but you know what's there were more? Has much more in play here. Fucking the horror genre, man. It's literally fucking ghosts being fucked and or fucking themselves.
Yeah.
So this is a horror comedy, just like Beetlejuice is a horror
Yeah.
comedy, and I have a feeling it's because horror largely, especially among critics and amongst basically anybody that doesn't want to be seen as a fool, is frowned down upon. It's seen as lesser of a genre. So people are loath to say that this is a horror comedy when it clearly fucking is. But on that note, one of my favorite things in the movie precisely is a scene that is on the bridge,
Classic.
and there's kind of a apocalyptic dialogue being thrown about between Dan Aykroyd and Winston, and it's a very small scene. That's right, Dan Aykroyd and Winston, fucking Ray and Winston, and it's such a brief scene, but it exemplifies something that is felt throughout. There's always an aura of eeriness throughout this
Yeah.
movie, even if the events are comedic, played for laughs a lot of the time. It doesn't take the material of the horror elements as a joke. It plays it very seriously, and it plays it as if it were gonna be a serious movie about something. that's related to these
It
events.
also kind of gives purpose to everything that's going on in the movie. You know, just bringing that idea forward of, oh yeah, all this is happening because of this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just a huge or it's, you know what I mean. It's not just a coincidence that's going on. So it works on that level, but it's also just the dialogue they give is mad creepy.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
also feels really real. Them talking in the car.
It feels sincere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think that feeds in, like you said, to the whole, obviously, the whole of the events that's going in, but it also adds a heft to the idea of Gozer, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which largely throughout this movie is played as an idea because the events are happening because of Gozer, but a lot of people may see this fucking movie and be like, these are just ghosts happening, and then Gozer happens, when in reality everything's tied together. You know, the influx of ghosts is happening because of the advent of Gozer, and that scene, like you say, kind of allows that concept to become undeniably concrete, but it also does it in a very creepy way.
Mm-hmm.
So when Gozer hits, the kind of like cosmic horror vibe of Gozer doesn't go away with the big silly Stay Puft thing and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, which is just a an
Avatar.
avatar of Gozer, yeah. So that's fucking awesome because this thing touches on Lovecraftian horror, you know, and it does it in such a cool, subtle way, and
I think
I love that,
also
man.
just the idea of Gozer is just scary. You know,
Absolutely,
it's just a
man.
freaking god that gives you the choice of how you're gonna die, basically.
Yeah, like a fucking what, like Galactus of gods, you know.
Mm,
It's treated like an inevitability. You know,
mm,
it's gonna happen because, or in spite of events.
yeah.
You know, very cool. A lot of like oomph to that, man. Of course, we gotta talk about the Ghostbusters. They're all great, but what's your favorite Ghostbuster gang?
I mean, since I was a feline, my boy Egon's been my boy. Which is interesting because I hate Donatello,
The
but
smart guy.
the smart guy. But there's something about Egon that's just great. Um, he's also one of the characters that's like just funny to look at. Not necessarily in his appearance, but
He's
like just
also the least rapey.
yeah, it's true. Just the way he reacts. Like one of my favorite things was when he turns on the pack, in the hotel, and he just kind of they all scoot to the side. You know, he just has funny reactions. He's obviously a straight guy, but it's funny.
Yeah,
You know.
it's always funnier to see someone. You know, like a good example is oh god, what was his name from Monty Python? Always played the straight guy. Anyway, if you're a Python fan, the guy that always plays the straight guy or played, um, you know, it's always funnier to see the funny stuff, no matter how goofy it may get, when there's someone to bounce it off of.
Yeah.
And Egon does that, but at the same time, is that,
Yeah.
which is cool. You know, it's a hard balance to strike, and Egon strikes it. So he's my favorite too, man.
I think also it's interesting because he kind of plays kind of the straight guy through the movie, but then they also bring in the real straight guy with Winston when stuff gets really weird.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so you get
yeah.
kind of two of the same character.
Yeah, that's super great. That's actually great that you pointed out. That's an amazing thing that I think gets kind of overlooked a lot is that yeah, you can lose an audience once you go too far. And you know, Ghostbusters goes from, you know, clearly a comedy to horror to, you know, it really like undulates in terms of its of what it's giving you, but then it reaches a peak, and yeah, you have the danger of losing an audience there. But not that I think it would have. But then they really anchor it down with Winston. He comes in just at the right moment. What is it, at the 40
Like
minute mark?
around 40 minutes, yeah. Winston's also just really likable.
He is.
You know,
You
he's
know, he's the everyman. You
yeah.
know, he's just a guy, and so it gives you an audience in that doesn't come in heavy handed. You know, like say that agent that they created out of nowhere in Hellboy, the
Mm.
Guillermo del Toro one. Though I liked him a lot, of course. That's a guy that everybody was like, "Who's that guy?" Oh, he's an audience in, but he was one that was really jammed in there. Winston just feels natural to the progress of the events,
Yeah.
and he's super cool and likable, and he shouldn't have shaved his mustache.
He's
I'm
got
just
the
saying.
stash guy. Something I
Come
love
on, guy.
about Ghostbusters, and
His stashes?
maybe oh yeah, his stash I should say,
Mhm.
but also everybody smokes in it.
Mad smoking.
and it's pretty cool. I don't know why it's cool.
That's exactly why they stopped putting smoking in
I
movies.
know, man. That's why I didn't want to mention it. But there's something about when we get to part 2 and when they don't smoke, then I'm like, they should be smoking.
Well,
God damn it.
to be fair, though they don't smoke a lot in part 2, they do smoke.
Yeah.
And then they break out stogies.
Oh, that's true. They got the big smoke.
So they're like, we're making up for the lack of smoking with this mad bomb of fucking smoke. So anyway, yeah. I mean,
I don't want to say smoking's cool,
but
they make it look cool. Yeah.
You know, I think if you smoked because you thought it looked cool, I mean, that's a decision you made, right? We all make fucked up, stupid decisions. But you can just see it and be like, that's cool looking. Yeah. And not do it.
Yeah.
So we're proponents for smoking in movies.
Yeah.
Just gonna say, if you want your character to look cool, have them strike an old fucking Pall Mall or some shit. Coincidentally, we saw The Ninth Gate recently. I don't know if you noticed this,
smoking.
But yeah, there was smoking everywhere. In places there shouldn't have been smoking, there was mad smoking. But there's a point where he hands somebody a smoke, and they take his smoke and they snap off the fucking filter and smoke that boy. And I was like, that guy's fucking cool. So I'm just saying, bring back smoking in films. We want to make our characters cool, damn it. But anyway, what else, guy? We got special effects, legendary special effects,
great special effects,
gorgeous special effects. Guy.
It's just that kind of thing that when you see it as a kid, you're like, I want to do that. You know, at least for me. I know I mentioned that the first movie that made me really like appreciate or notice effects as a thing that people make was Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm.
But this was also up there of just like, it goes beyond like, how do they do that? It's just like that's a thing that exists.
Even goes though beyond you saying, want to know how to do that, into just
accepting that it exists.
Which is amazing. Yeah. Beautiful, gorgeous, unique designs to the ghost. You know, there's no sheets here. You know, it's very much in line with Beetlejuice. You know, there's a very unique visual aesthetic to the world that they created. So it feels distinct, man.
I think just like the designs are very interesting. You know, like when the librarian turns into that weird monster. Of course, Slimer. It's just a very interesting design to the ghosts, which of course get expanded on in part 2. But I think they're at their best in this one.
Yeah,
they just
definitely Slimer.
Yeah, it's just
looks like straight feast in part 2, guys.
It's just like it's one of those like gross out drawings put to life, and it works perfectly somehow. Looking ridiculous.
Also, mad cute when it comes to Stay Puft. Just gotta say.
Also cute when it comes to Slimer going around the chandelier for no reason.
Oh man, he's cute. What's he doing?
I don't know, but
I like it. What the hell? Yeah. Said that lady.
What the hell you doing?
Classic moment.
Classic.
All right, man. What else we gotta talk about here, guy? Give it to me. Anything?
I gotta say that but also the tunes are pretty great. You know,
the Bernstein score is classic.
I love that soundtrack, and it's a soundtrack that, though it's great in the movie, don't get me wrong, and I noticed its greatness in the movie, I really ended up appreciating in the game because they use it a lot, and you hear it more often. It's just one of those where you're like, yeah, this kind of fits any situation that you want it to fit.
You know what's great about that soundtrack? It provided cues that are kind of timeless. So kind of like in Lord of the Rings, I'm not comparing it to that level of greatness, mind you, but in Lord of the Rings, there's certain cues that they're just, you know, linked to certain characters or to certain situations that if they bring them back, they just, you know, pump you up with that nostalgia, that feeling of familiarity, that oneness you have with cinema that you enjoy. And the Bernstein score has a lot of that, you know, it has stuff that it's so built into the imagery and to the characters and all that stuff that when you rewatch it, it just feels like home.
Yeah,
you know, it's great. It's just a sign of a great score. You know,
it's I don't want to get sidetracked to the game, but in the game, there's a moment where you have to run to revive Peter, and they use that little musical cue where he gets slimed and what's his name, Dan's going to him, and it was just one of those things where they use it so well. You're like, that's perfect. Yeah, you have to use that. It would be stupid not to use that. So yeah, it is one of those. It's just one of those things that instantly creates links in your mind through music.
Yeah, I agree, man. So of course, this movie is goes hand in hand with the image of New York. And what do you think about New York as a character here in the original?
I think New York is a thing that exists. No, I'm just kidding. I think New York is pretty cool. I mean, I think you see more of it in part two, but what you do see in this is pretty cool. I think, like one of my favorite scenes is when the freaking shit blows up and the ghosts are all coming out. And that's just a cool vision. Of course, you also get the great montage, which unfortunately we don't get in part two. But just to see the kind of city and really it's just kind of a thing, the locations, of course, it's locations that are just like iconic in film basically.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think this movie uses New York as a backdrop
Yeah,
incredibly well without being like, check it out, guys, it's New York.
check it out, it's the Statue of Liberty walking around.
Yeah, it feels very organic to
Just the
New York here.
location.
So it's one of those quintessential New York movies for that reason, even though ironically a lot of it was shot in LA. But it is so much of it it's so well built into the movie
Yeah,
that it becomes or it is a New York movie. It feels like a New York movie despite what we know behind the scenes. You know, it just feels so natural to it, and I think it's cool. It's one of those movies that achieves that
yeah,
without being a
yeah.
little overbearing.
It's
But
one of those things where it's so iconic that when they put the freaking firehouse into the Spider-Man PS4 game, people were made like, "Oh, look, let's go visit it," and it was like a thing.
yeah,
And I went to it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. It's New York now. It
yep.
wasn't before, but now it
Yeah.
is."
So everybody has a bone to pick with a movie, even if they love it. If you could find a bone to pick with this old classic, what would you say that bone would be?
Man, I can't think of a bone to pick. I'm sure I have one, but I can't think of one at the moment. What about you?
I will say that, as aforementioned, I love the idea of Gozer and all that stuff. But I think everybody's kind of mystified as to why the fuck it was like a supermodel looking chick with a
Mm,
glitzy, a little suit.
yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I think that's 80s and cool looking. But just how amazing the eerie and cosmic the idea of Gozer feels before that. You see this chick in high heels stepped up. I think that's funny, but at the same time, I'm like, damn it, it would have been really cool to see something or
I
a peak of something truly
mm,
horrifying. Even if you kept that facade, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Uh, that's a nitpick. Don't get me wrong. I love the movie as it is, and I wouldn't want to change that. But I've always like when you read something or you see something, it's one of those where it's a what if kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Like, what if they would have just given us a hint of it? Because I think that would have really capped off the cosmic feeling of already a cosmic feeling dude or entity, I should say.
I do like Gozer though.
Oh
The way
yeah, I'm
she
not saying
looks.
I don't dig it.
Yeah.
Definitely would bang.
Oh, I'd bang. I like
So
when she does that pose like that.
yeah, classic.
Kind of hot for some
You
reason.
know.
Oh, I have
I hear you would bang Vince Clortho also.
one
So
small
that's
nitpick
gross.
would be, I'm just ignoring that,
No,
would
homie,
be
you bang.
when Gozer flies and jumps on top of them. I always found
No,
that shot funny for some reason.
that's pretty. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Um, I think yeah, I think whatever like complaints you might have, you can kind of forgive because the movie's so good.
Mhm.
You know, it's a movie of moments, so you could just be like, oh, that one scene. Like that one scene in the prison where they're just talking about shit and you get like the feeling of eeriness again. It's just good. You could just, with this whole review, could just be as like, that one scene?
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You know?
Um.
Which I think is maybe why it's kind of a hard movie to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, because it's so
Because it's
ingrained
just
into
one
our
of those movies,
culture.
yeah.
So on that subject, Ghostbusters 2. Uh. Once you make something that's a kind of watershed moment in popular
Mm-hmm.
culture, how the fuck do you follow that up? Well, the standard go-to for Hollywood is just to make a mirror imitation of the first one with a few things changed. And sometimes that could be cool, and sometimes that could suck massive donkey balls. In the case of Ghostbusters 2, I'm of the opinion that it was cool at times, and sometimes it was like, that was the thing that they did, but it's never offensively awful. Now, before in this channel, we have mentioned that part two is mad ass and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
prone to hyperbole, but in all reality, it's not as bad as people give it the reputation of
Yeah.
being. And here, upon this recent viewing, I actually appreciated probably the most that I've appreciated in my entire watching history, which has been plenty of times. Um, I will say that the first, like 2/3 of it go at such a steady pace that you can easily ignore some of the problematic elements, uh, because it is quick and it does feel like it's going at such a charge that it feels like a natural progression of events. You know what I'm saying? Now I know some people have some big issues that they can't overcome when it comes to that shift from part one to two, and the biggest one for a lot of people is why did people just forget that this happened? So just off the cuff, this last viewing, and I think you were observant of this too. We certainly discussed it. Um, I think we appreciate a lot more the effort that went into to easing the audience into that rather than not. And I think a lot of people just look at the fact that everybody seems to ignore that this massive event happened in New York and why the mayor is treating them like shit and all that stuff. And I think the movie does a fair job at communicating what it wanted to communicate, but it doesn't do it 100%. And it would have been really nice if it did, because the movie really tries to integrate New York more into it. And that's so integral to what's going on. It's not that New York forgot. It's that the movie was trying to communicate that the bureaucrats wanted New York to forget. And, I think it's ultimately demonstrated in one of the first scenes you see here with the Ghostbusters being at a party. And clearly the parent has not forgotten. Clearly the parent thinks that this is a cool idea for the kids. But the new generation, raised under the bleeding of the bureaucracy and whatever effects that may have had on other New Yorkers, they don't give a flying fuck about it. And you see it throughout the movie. People, some recognize them, some treat them like shit. That kind of half-assed Walter Peck copy should have probably been more in this, even though that would have been more Peckian. But I think they left.
Just trying to get them out of the way.
Yeah. I think they left shreds of the idea of it's more the bureaucracy that wants New York to forget. And some may be on their side, but most remember,
Yeah, it's also the fact that all ghost activity stopped after Gozer went away.
That's also
Gozer costed the ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. And here, ghost activity is ticking up, but it's linked to, unlike Gozer, it's not something that has the plans have been laid for ahead of time, and he's an eventuality, really. Here, the villain Viggo is latching on to the bad energy of New York. He's a lesser ghost by definition, but it's being fed by the city itself. The city was so integral to this that I think that they didn't focus a little more on that. Not only gave people the impression that New York forgot, but also kind of robbed the power out of the villain in the end. But there's a lot more that robbed the power of the villain. We'll get to that. So let's talk about this. What off the top of your head would you say is something super positive about the movie and something to the contrary super negative?
I think something super positive is that you do get more with the characters, and they are pretty much a continuation of the characters. Some characters are slightly changed, like Peter. Obviously, he's not as much of a creep in this. But it was cool to see like Egon be a little looser.
He's definitely fucking fungus and molds.
Crack little jokes and shit. Egon's one of those characters that it's just cool to see him be a little different than what he is, or just be himself. You know what I mean? So I think that's cool. I like what they did with seeing them where they are 5 years later. That was cool. Something that sucks balls though. It's kind of hard to pick, but I'm gonna go with this one because we gotta get it out of the way. And it's that montage. Woo!
That is a montage where literally nothing happens.
Nothing,
man.
guy. They're walking.
It feels like they were like, we have to have a montage, and then they just threw shit together. And we're like, that's good enough, guy, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough. The montage sucks my nut.
It also has
super dry.
It also has a terrible version of the Ghostbusters theme.
Super bad.
In there, so it's shit in two ways.
Yeah. That's bad. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
I would say another thing that bugs me. It's not as bad as that. I don't think anything is as bad as that. But maybe something. But this one isn't. Something that bugs me is that Lewis, the kind of like weird nosy neighbor, nebbish nosy neighbor
Rick
of
Moranis.
Dana's. Yeah, played by the great Rick Moranis. I guess he wants to be a Ghostbuster at the ass end.
Yeah, that does kind of come out of nowhere.
Nowhere, guy. He's all of a sudden like, this is my dream. What the fuck? Since
Yeah.
when? You know what I'm saying? That sucks.
Another thing
the
that's
Janine.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, Janine.
Why
I
is
guess.
Janine like a hoe now?
Yeah, and she's like mad lusting after Lewis. There's not a lot of groundwork for that, and I get maybe they were trying to like just give the character something to do, but sometimes you don't need to do that, and sometimes you're like, well, that just sucked. Well, why did that have to happen? Don't get me wrong, her Janine being seductive definitely made me as a youngin have to wank the ween.
Yeah, I was about to say I wasn't necessarily against her being a hoe because my wiener was like, hell yeah. But at the same time, comes out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, guy.
Mm.
Another thing that I have an issue with is the need to have Dana be at the center of the events. It just feels like too much of a coincidence. And I get that they obviously wanted to bring Sigourney Weaver back, which is great. She's amazing. But you could have a character be involved in other ways that doesn't feel a little too contrived like that. And that to me is like, come on, guy. What are the chances of this one person having, short of her being some sort of beacon for evil, which is never established, what are the chances? You know what I'm saying? So it felt, and then for what? Just for there to be the Bill Murray and her, the sparks between them continue. I mean, you could have done that some other way that didn't feel contrived.
Yeah. That being said, just to throw positive in there, going off your negative. I mean,
yes.
I do like what was going on with Bill and her, with Peter and Dana. I do think it was kind of like a good next step for Peter's character. There is a change in his character. That's cool. But at the same time, the fact that the flex the shit out of the plausibility of events to have that in there is kind of a detriment.
Yeah, it's not great. And I think the biggest complaint for a lot of people is that ultimately the movie feels like almost like a carbon copy of the skeletal structure of the first one. Sometimes it doesn't, which is good, but ultimately it does, down to necessitating a gigantic kind of icon walking down the streets of New York, which here is like, how does that work? How the fuck is the Statue of Liberty ambulating? I get the mood slime. That's a cool concept in thought. But when you introduced a literal NES controller and, it's just too much to think about. Don't get me wrong. I'm one to think about it and make excuses for it. But at the same time, why should I? It doesn't feel like something that would happen. It's very impressive effect. Beautiful effect, the Statue of Liberty. But holy shit, why the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, it's also around the time where the movie gets too ludicrous. It jumps the shark, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do like most of this movie. It is an enjoyable watch. Even though I do think a lot of the jokes are a lot dumber than the first movie. There's a lot more stupid jokes in there. There's literally an entire character that is, he talks funny. That's the joke!
Yep.
But he is funny. But that's the joke, that he talks funny.
That's the guy.
You know what's funny? Accents.
Yep. Hilarious.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stupid humor in it. But a lot of it works and a lot of it's fine. And a lot of it you can just forgive because of the clip of the movie. But then it jumps that shark, or should I say, controls that Statue of Liberty with an NES advantage. And you're like, come on, guy!
Yeah. I think another issue that I have with this movie is that Viggo is a really cool idea. I love that they play kind of like on that old world, draconian ruler a la Vlad Tepes or, fucking Attila the Hun or whatever. These bloodthirsty maniacs.
Gornak the Conqueror.
Classic ancient draconian ruler. That's super real.
Yeah, don't look it up though.
Yeah, don't. It's definitely
cursed.
It's so real that
you get cursed.
History books just don't include it. They're
That's
like,
true.
you should know. Anyway. Gornak, all that stuff, Viggo is a cool idea. Getting that ugly ass mofo to play him, that's a cool visual. The idea of this spirit tenuously hanging on to this fucking painting as a link between the spirit world and here, and taking advantage of this, insurgent river of emotional slime to get his claws in you. That's super cool, but that's all stuff that you have to really think more about than actually see in the movie.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works, of course. Sometimes thinking
Like Gozer.
yeah. Sometimes thinking, but he's so underdeveloped. In vain with like Rowan in the 2016 one. Conceptually, they should be cool or eerie or strange or menacing or whatever, and they are if you think more about them, but you don't see enough of them.
Yeah.
And you want to, because they're cool. It's a cool idea, and I think unlike Gozer, he would have benefited more from more screen time, and definitely different screen time than what he ultimately ended up getting, especially towards the ass end.
Ultimately, I did do a little ready boy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what this is. That's not reading.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway.
Blind people reading?
Yeah, I did a little blind people reading, a little braille.
Pretty sure they don't lift their fingers off the braille, but
that's a thing. Well, let's just go with it. I did a little booply boops, and apparently there was supposed to be a different effect for Viggo.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be more of like a visual, what's it called, 3D kind of living painting type of thing, and he was supposed to be in it more. But apparently the effect looked like mad ass. And they were just like, let's just put a big head with a river of slime behind it and cut down the time. So.
Which, by the way, that visual's cool too, but yeah, it's just underuse of the character, really. Also, they lay an egg. That's what it's called, right? Mm-hmm. They lay a seed, aka an egg. They lay a bird egg, if you will, yeah. They lay an egg. I mean, damn it, they lay a seedlet of something that is eventually going to pay off, supposedly, and that's that at one point Viggo clearly entrances, ensorcels, if you will, Ray, much like he did Janos, but it goes nowhere, and when it does pay off, you're like, that's it?
That's it, guy.
That's bad.
I think it would have been so much more interesting if Ray was evil.
Yeah.
Ray was evil through the movie, and he was sabotaging stuff. And, literally tearing out the heart of the Ghostbusters to slow them down in what's going on. Because the way it is now, he gets entranced by Viggo, and then nothing happens. Yeah. And then at the end, he has a big, ugly head.
Yep.
And that's it!
They just play it off like, oh no, Viggo got defeated. Here's my last shot. That thing in horror movies where the villain's defeated, but then, oh shit, he grabs their leg or some shit. That's what they play it as, only with a big ass head and stinks. But yeah, you're right. It should have been an element in the plot, and that, the way you suggested, is the way it would have been amazing if he's literally sabotaging, allowing Viggo enough time to get more of a foothold in this world, and I don't know, maybe cross over a little longer than just the phase out thing.
Janos could have been like the guy that does everything, but Ray is just a gear in the Ghostbusters cog.
Mm-hmm.
What? You know what I mean? A wrench in their cogs or whatever. What's the saying? An egg in their seed?
I think it's the egg in the seed, guy.
You know what I mean.
From Gornak.
Yeah, Gornak. Yeah. The Conqueror said that.
There's also a question of what Viggo's powers exactly are. At times it can really affect the real world.
He can make Janos float and have a stretchy hand.
But he can't. He needs more help getting... Maybe instead of helping Janos do that, like, I don't know, get the fuck out of the painting or some shit, So his power fluctuate in the, sheer amount that he has. Also, his plot seems kind of weird. Like, technically, he could have possessed anyone. Mm-hmm. Could have possessed Janos. He definitely possessed Ray to some extent.
Well, he wants a child to be reborn, but it didn't have to be that child.
It could have been any child.
Any child, yeah.
But
also, once he's reborn into this world, do we have to wait in real time for him to grow up?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Because at that point, I would just freaking slam dunk that baby into a trash can and burn it.
Yeah, stat, guy.
Yeah.
So his plot seems pretty fucking weird. Does he immediately grow once he's in the child? Apparently not, because he was like, you'll be
father to Poppy and Dottie or whatever. That's direct quote, Viggo.
His plan seems weird, guy. But he seems like he's like confident he's gonna rule the world. But come on, guy, you got 18 years? I don't know. It just didn't seem well thought out.
Yeah.
I also have another bone to pick when the museum is encased in a shell of slime, and the New Yorkers basically good vibes the villain to death, which I thought is actually pretty cool and very in spirit with what's going on in the movie. The slime shell just kind of like goes up into the air. That's a thing? What? Okay. I mean, it wasn't ghost slime. It was physical fucking slime.
Ooze.
Why did it just crack and then go up into... I don't know. This is weird, guys. It feels like some of this stuff was rushed. Like, I guess we're going to do this.
They
also, Slimer looks like shit in this. I'm just going to put that out there.
Slimer does look like shit. But we do get some cool ghosts. Like
Scalaries look pretty cool. Disgusting.
Look awesome. That big weird creature coming out of the thing. The Titanic. Guys, it was a little disrespectful, though, I gotta say.
Hold on. Our boy Al Smith, he's a Ghostbusters guy, among other things, but that's what he's most renowned for. He made a big old stink about people building Lego sets in the most well-known version Lego sets of the Titanic, in the most well-known iteration of the Titanic, which is crashed as fuck, sunk as hell,
not
if you will.
Floating, if you will.
Not floating, yeah. He was like, man, that's super disrespectful to the dead. True, but the Titanic is like, that's the only thing it's known for.
That's the one thing
if it had not crashed, nobody would have given two shits about the Titanic. But
I think the one thing it did well was crash.
I think that's it.
It definitely wasn't float.
But I gotta point out, Al, and I know we love you, but Ghostbusters 2 is mad using straight up zombies from the Titanic.
Zombie ghosts.
I mean, come on, guy. I feel like that one's maybe a little bit more disrespectful than some guy going, gee, I'm gonna build this Lego set
and commemorate this thing.
Commemorate the one thing it ever did.
Well,
sink like a friggin' stone, guy.
Well,
anyway, we're joking, of course, but
I kind of aren't.
Well, yeah, I mean, straight up zombies, guys.
Yeah,
zombie ghosts. Also, Cheech is in this fucking movie.
Cheech is in it, guy.
And it feels like they want you to know that he's in it because they shoot that boy
twice
straight up in his grill, guy.
His nuts, guy.
And you're like, also like,
is that a cameo?
Did he just need a job?
I think it was a cameo because I'm gonna give it to him as a cameo because we also get Bill Murray's brother. You know, he's
yeah, but Bill Murray gives his brother jobs.
Yeah, but let's just say it's a cameo. I don't want to live in a world where Cheech needed a job.
There was a whole period, guy. Some might say it's still a thing, but he's definitely in it.
Yeah.
And he's definitely astonished that somebody brought back the Titanic ghosts and paraded them about for entertainment.
Paraded them, dude, like freaking puppets.
What else, guy? You got anything else before we wrap this boy up?
I think I gotta say that the score is inferior too.
Oh yeah, it is. Obviously the song that they made is inferior, but the score is not as good as the original.
Yeah.
But it's still decent.
It's fine.
It's whatever. It's about whatever, man.
It's about It's about as good as it can be, I guess. In part 2.
Sure. Yep.
Here's the thing that I found pretty weird upon reviewing of this hit film.
Okay.
It wasn't a hit film, by the way. It actually lost Sony a lot of money, and that's why we never saw a third Ghostbusters. Yep. So in case you're wondering,
Bill Murray.
Well, that too. In case you were wondering whether there was never a third one, it didn't do good.
Yeah.
So anyway, another thing that was shocking to me was that in our collective mind, I believe, including merch and every kind of promotional stuff, the Ghostbusters have always worn those darker gray suits.
Yeah, and definitely in the posters and stuff.
In the posters and everything, the toys. But they wear it once in the movie, guy.
And it's during that montage. Yep.
The rest of the time, they just have
standard Ghostbusters.
The regular Ghostbusters, with like some little lines. That's the only difference.
That's it? Oh, and the little...
which, by the way, is stupid.
Makes no sense.
Why would they put that?
I guess because they're back to it again.
I always hated that.
Yeah, me too. It makes no sense. Why would they do that? Why would they waste precious resources on making patches specific to a return, which they're not cognizant of?
There is also
in filmatic terms.
There is also concrete evidence in this hit film, which wasn't a hit, that Egon has sex with slime.
Yeah.
They literally just say he has sex with slime, and he's like, "Yep, I had sex with that slime."
Yep.
It's also heavily implied that Ray had sex with slime. That there was a 3-way situation with them at night humping this slime.
If you don't believe us, go see that scene where they're, the toaster scene.
Yep.
It's mad implied that these motherfuckers are straight having slime orgies. Spit roasting slime, guy. And if you don't believe that, well, then I call your entire fandom to the light, guy. It's bullshit.
I mean, for Egon, definitely he had sex with slime. He says he had sex with slime. Ray, it's more of an implication.
Line, mad bone slime, I think he said.
Ray, it's a heavy implication of spit roasting, but it's there, guy.
Yeah, they definitely fucked. You know?
You think they used it as lube?
Oh no. That's bad.
Anyway.
Let's give a final score to part 1 and part 2. Straight up, part 1, it's fucking one of the greatest comedies of all time. Horror comedies, to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
And it deserves a 10, guy. It's timeless. It's rewatchable as hell. It's just one of those films that, you know, what can you say? I don't want to say it's perfect because, you know, nothing is, but it might as well, guy. We're giving the motherfucking 10. 10?
10. 10 across the board. Family.
Anyway, part 2. Look, it's enjoyable, guys. Mm-hmm. If you're a fan, it's enjoyable. You can largely overlook the problematic stuff. Those problems that I mentioned, they're there. They're not going to go anywhere. Got over it. It never really bugged me that much anyway, but I got over it and whatever. And I can enjoy the movie a lot more now than I did back then, which I enjoyed back then too. So I'm going to give 6.5, guy. I'm going to give a little 6.5. 7 on a good day.
I think I'm going to go 7 because I did enjoy it more this time around. Flawed though it is, mm-hmm. and though our review was mostly shitting on it, mm-hmm. it is kind of a treat to see the characters do their thing, you know. And I do like some of the advancements in the characters, like Egon humping slime, instead of eating muff, and I'm glad that Ray's not just dreaming about humping ghosts, but humping slime. Guy. That's pretty cool. Important character development. I think realistically it's like a 6 for me, but I'm gonna go 7 because it was enjoyable this time around.
Yeah.
I gotta also say that the Blu-ray looks perfect, and our copies of the first movie is both messed up. So if you have that old digipack, check it because it might not work.
Yep. Yeah, the digipack, the little book with part 1 and 2. Both are part 1 in the exact same spot. Fucked up.
1 hour and 17 minutes in.
Yeah, very frustrating.
But part 2 looked amazing.
Nobody on the internet mentioned anything of it. But what are the chances of us two getting the exact same problem with the exact same spot on completely different
in multiple players too?
In multiple players, yeah. So that's the thing you gotta check out. Hopefully we can find one that doesn't have that fucking problem. But anyway, that's that for that. In case you wonder about 2016, I rewatched it recently. Give it a fucking 5. Really, I'm being super nice by saying that. And that's despite the fact that I was like, yeah, you know, I hate that that's the one I've watched the most in the theaters. But that's just because I was a fetus when the first 2 came out.
I have watched the original at least 5 times in the theaters, thoughts.
Oh, you have?
Mm-hmm. The
family.
Desperate kind of, those different kind of Fathom events that would do.
Oh, that's true. Family.
You refused to go to one of them too.
Did I?
Yeah, you were like, I don't know.
That's interesting.
You, me, and Guardian were meant to go, and you didn't want to go, so me and Mom and Guardian went.
Huh. Curious and curiouser.
Instead, you saw 2016 17 times in theater.
I did see 2016 3 times in theater, but it was all, it was a journey of interest for me. You know what I'm saying? The first time, obviously, I had to see it as a Ghostbusters fan to make my own mind up and not listen to anybody else. Just make my own stank mind up.
Yeah.
Second time was because, you couldn't go that time, and I was like, well, I'll fucking go anyway. And I went, and this time I was like, I wonder what the audience will think of this. I had already noticed it the first time, but the second time, I was really noticing the audience, which I rarely fucking do in movies. You know, it's about the fucking movie after all. And it was packed with a lot of chicks. There was guys too, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of women in there. And more importantly for me, there was a lot of little girls that were loving the shit out of it. Which is odd because there's a queef gag in there. But whatever, you know. And I just thought, and I already had thought that, but I just thought, and I know you did when you went to go see it, which was my 3rd time, you thought the same thing too. It's great that somebody this is for someone, and they enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? Might not be for us, but they enjoyed it. Fuck, man, not everything has to be for us. So that was cool. And then later we rewatched the extended version, which is kind of the best. If you want to see 2016 again, just watch the extended version because it got rid of some really dumb shit and did expand on some things. Unfortunately, I think the biggest flaw of the original 2016 is the villain is so underdeveloped, and they focus too much on they take the humor too far into Stupidville. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just kind of like anchoring it to the personalities of these particular comedians, which are very different. Which I know that's a whole thing. You may just not like them because their comedy styles are different. But they took it a little too far. And then there was just those cameos, guy. Yeah. Holy shit! Some of those cameos were mad unnecessary.
Ozzy?
Oh my god, the Ozzy Theater one was the worst. It wasn't that much better than the fucking extended, but the Ozzy Theater one, super unnecessary. The Ghostbuster cameos themselves were unnecessary. And I hate to say it, Chris Hemsworth is a funny guy. We've seen him in a lot of cool stuff. He's cool, obviously.
Would you bang him?
Would bang, but his character is just weird, man. It's just so not real and already a fantastical style film, So there's a lot of fucking problems in that movie, but I don't hate it. I sure as hell wasn't in the bashing department, but it doesn't touch a single toe on the 1984 movie. It doesn't enrage me. It doesn't do anything that it did to a lot of people when it came out. It's just a thing that happened. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not offended by it.
Destroy our lives.
Didn't destroy our lives.
Yeah.
I am against bashing it. It's literally just a movie that came and went for me. And I would have no problem having it in my collection if I could find it cheap. I don't. But if I did find it cheap, I'd have it, man. I know, no issue. Just a GB thing, a Ghostbusters thing. But I am glad they moved on from that. Eventually, we'll see the new one and review that. Oh, by the way, realistically, I'd probably give 2016 like a 4, really. But I'm giving a 5 because there are things in there that I'm kind of interested to see Paul Feig's a 7 million hour cut.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that there, upon rewatching, you could tell that there was stuff that was trimmed, and it's a pretty lengthy movie.
Yeah. I think the extended has more breathing room for stuff. Like the cuts are super noticeable in the theatrical cut. And that's one of those things where the more I saw it, the more I disliked it because of that. Because they're so obviously cut. And it just is grating. But in the extended, it's kind of not that bad. And they let stuff breathe and the jokes aren't as retarded.
Also, I think
for lack of a better word.
Yeah, really. Yeah. A thing that you see if you watch it, which I know not a lot of people want to do that, and I'm not prompting you to, but if you do rewatch it, you actually do notice a kind of Rowan as a villain, as his villainous intent, kind of more developed than Viggo, sadly. You know what I'm saying? You actually see that, and the irony of Rowan basically being a lot of the people that criticize it is kind of funny, but also kind of coincidental. But yeah, it's not a great movie, and that's it. That's it. So hopefully, Afterlife will please us. I know that now, like, it's weird the curve it went on, right? Like the little roller coaster went on. It was like super positive, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we hate it, and all of a sudden, yeah, no, we love it now.
It doesn't matter as long as it's better than freaking the new one, the remake, part 2.
So
anyway. Not gonna expect it to live up to part 1.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nothing can live up to part 1. That's just it. That's so much a snapshot of its time, and of the people that made part 1 couldn't recapture that.
Yeah.
So why are we hoping for somebody else to do it? And then,
I think like if you're a Ghostbusters fan that is like looking for something in the property, and you're not just tied to the movies. There's a lot out there to enjoy, the game. If you're really a big fan, there's technically 2 versions of the game because the PS2 Wii version has different story elements, which are actually really cool.
And you're talking specifically about Ghostbusters, the video game.
Yeah.
Was it 2000?
It's really the third Ghostbusters movie before we got Afterlife, and really does capture the feeling of Ghostbusters, even though obviously they had to do some stuff to make it work as a game.
Right.
I think if you're into comics, there's a lot of comics that are up there.
Yep.
You know, there's other stuff to enjoy as a Ghostbusters fan. You don't have to be
The real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the real
will always be
Ghostbusters,
around.
Extreme Ghostbusters,
Extreme,
all that.
yeah.
You know,
So those are
the property is more alive now than it has been forever, and in such a long time because there's so many fans of the original. But at the same time, it's teetering so close to dying. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's and it all has to do with the fact that these people striving to duplicate that particular thing. I think the closest we got to it thriving was beyond the scope, the umbrella of the first movie is the real Ghostbusters, because it created its own vibe, its own feel, its own look, and yet still was loyal to the material. And so I think that was the most vibrant extension of it.
In all honesty, I think, and this is not a thing against fans, but it kind of is. I think fans are killing this franchise.
Fans are killing a lot of franchises.
They
no different.
expect it to be the first movie again. They expect to feel like they did when they were kids, and that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic with your freaking expectations. You're not a kid anymore. You're almost 40. Grow up, asshole, and enjoy a movie for what it is.
Yeah.
You are killing the franchises you love by just shitting on everything that come out. We saw Cowboy Bebop recently got canceled because everybody was just shitting on it, and now everybody's like, "Oh, it was so good."
Yeah, that's the fucking irony, man. Don't get us wrong. We haven't seen the Cowboy Bebop live action thing. It may blow. It may be great. I don't know. I've only seen the movie from the original anime, and that was great, by the way. But you know, the whole time that this thing, before it even came out, people were already pissing on it. I remember the actress. The actor, I forgot her name, one of the lead characters, they basically shit in her fucking mouth because she didn't look exactly like this non-human looking ass anime waif, and she got pissed and she lashed back, and people get angry at people being like, what the fuck did I do, man?
Yes.
Well, fuck, man, you're being assholes to people. Just because they're playing a character that you love doesn't mean those people give a flying shit, or maybe they do and you're pissing all over that too. So, naturally she got angry and was like, what the fuck? These people are losers. And you know what? She's fucking right, man. I get that you're protective of the stuff that you love. We all are. But what does that have to do with someone that's just playing a part, or somebody that maybe is genuinely trying to do something and maybe they failed? But what the fuck,
Mm-hmm.
We can only sit and watch the final product and judge then, and that's it. But anyway, fucking yeah, man, like this Cowboy Bebop thing, they shat on it, they got there, it finally got released, and then, there was a very large negative snapback, and then they went back to positive. And then, let's be honest, everybody saw that the Radical Ed, even us who haven't seen the show, and we're like, bleh! And that's not shitting on the actress, that's shitting on the weird decision to make that character so close to the anime that is just sucked. But anyway, the point is, now that it's canceled, everybody's like, oh no, my show. What the fuck is going on here, guys? Look, man, we can only just wait till the moment that it comes out and then be like, oh, that's cool, and it will live forever in the pantheon of my fucking mind.
Or it sucked balls.
Or it sucked balls, forget about
forever,
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Why do we have to kill ourselves or
Sony,
fucking entertainment?
We all know that Sony is quick to just reboot something. So if you don't like something, just wait a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And they'll remake it 700 times. Maybe they'll bring in like 5,000 Ghostbusters and have the timeline make 0 sense. That's what I'm waiting for. That's Ghostbusters No Way Home.
Yeah, it's the best. So anyway, that's a little retrospective on Ghostbusters, and ended with a little grim a snapback at the fan reactions. Fans are killing fandoms, dude.
Yeah.
Fans are killing fandoms. Fans are killing properties. Faster than Netflix kills shows, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up. But anyway, chillax, man. Just watch and enjoy the shit for yourself. Don't get wrapped up in everybody else's opinion, unless it's ours, because we're cool. Nah, we're mad uncool. Make up your own mind. It's go, guy. Let's just talk about it. We're out.